have it now when they are ready for this slugfest that I'm hoping we're going to see. I'm really, really hoping that we're going to just see these two absolutely wail on each other through this.
I'm really excited to see Virtus.pro play on a map that isn't Consulate, to be honest with you. I believe they've picked it 4 times so far this stage, even 5. It just seemed week after week they wanted to keep on stepping back into the halls of Consulate to rid themselves of that horrific memory of being beaten 7-4 by G2 back in stage 1. If everyone remembers Kayak's incredible clutch with the Echo on that map, and one they were very sore to erase with fresh, happy memories. Let's see, though, how Villa shapes up. First ban, no surprise at all, is going to be the Thatcher.
None at all. I'm sure Virtus.pro remember that clutch, and I'm sure that they will do for a while. Maverick coming in as our second ban. Now, fairly reasonable choice, but on Villa, taking away one of the hard breaches. I think it may come down more to getting rid of the nades on that one.
Yeah, normally you'd see like a Habana taken away here because of the long range from Study, for example, onto Study wall. Master, you can open it up from outside Master window. Maverick, one that you don't see banned all that much on this map. Valkyrie, a very common ban. And Wamai, although we kind of crept out of the ban for a while when we left the utility meta behind, teams have started banning it again, I think, to force that discomfort onto people a little bit, So, keen to see the impact of that one.
We're going to be loading into round 1. We are off to Tuscany, and it's going to be Villa for the Virtus.pro Team Empire showdown. We're heading to Aviator Games. No surprises there. Virtus.pro starting us off on defence, and that will be their site of choice for round number 1. Nothing too wild on those operator picks so far. We've got Lion coming in for Dan, which is a fascinating one to keep an eye on, but it looks like it's going to... We've only been 6 picked away. We're going to have the Nomad instead, so that will just be used to try and cut down on some rotations, potential aggression. For example, you could maybe pop an air jab on the study door from the Aviator Games site itself on the right-hand side of your screen. Now, pop an air jab above there. You know that nobody's going to pressure you then from site. If you're trying to establish control over study and look to get some pressure mounted in there, you're not going to get peaked from that door, or at least not too aggressively. Alternatively, those air jabs, and a very popular and likely use, is going to be on the other side of the map, the northern side, where you've got Astro Stairs, you've got Trophy, Statuary. You're going to get that air jabbed off behind you, and then you know that you're not going to suffer from a flank from anybody that's been playing underneath.
The northern side, do you say, Ace?
The northern side.
The northern side. I was really curious, and I thought about it back at the very start. How do you say the word Derby?
Derby.
Derby. It's quite plain, actually. I thought you'd be like Derby or something like that, but that was
Derby.
Derby.
The thing is, Des, I don't say any of the things that you say I do anywhere near as broadly as you say.
Oh, that one I just thought, like, say, that was quite broad, for example. It's the little things that are unexpected, like the first time I heard you say laser gates.
When I say it, it's much gentler, you see.
Well, I like to exaggerate.
Just when it goes through the Des magnification.
It's like sticking something in a cannon and watching it fly. One thing I wanted to touch on is Joystick being one of 2 or 3 players in EUL that is still picking up the Ash, had the recoil nerfs, dropped off the face of the earth. Players were stepping over to playing things like the Iana, the Flores, the Zofia. But Joystick and Doki are 2 players I know, and I think Sloth has also been doing the same. Players that have still stuck to playing the Ash. Once an Ash main, always an Ash main, Ace.
Oh, it's something you're born into, Des. If you are a true born and bred Ash main, that is it. There is no way that you're putting that operator down just because of some pesky recoil changes. Oh, no, no, no. You will just get familiar with them. Rask, of course, having a really big game in the last play day. I'm sure Empire are going to be looking for more of the same. 21 kills he ended up recording and was a big part of their 7-3 win. And if he can come out and find the same sort of form here, it could be a dangerous day for Virtus.pro. Right now, Sider's got himself established inside of Statuary. He's just going to open that soft wall, give himself a few angles through towards the site, and there's pressure from Statuary and from Trophy here, so...
Oh, imagine being a Jaeger sat behind a shield with no ADSs nearby. Lol. Unlucky, I guess. Great nade coming out, though, from the study balcony. Rask removed in no time. And I like that we're seeing Empire going for this 2-directional push. They also had an air jab down on this Aviator doorway in case someone did try and get aggressive up 90. That Joystick, you're a lucky man. Gets the shield, life stays intact, could be far worse. Out comes WTG here, wanting to get rid of the Selma off that right-hand wall, and removed it shall be. 60 seconds remain and still 9 men left alive, Ace.
Going well so far for Team Empire. They've got complete control over the upper side of 90 corridor. Dan's just going to be taken down by Kajeka, though. What an angle he's just had through onto the study window there to level things up for Virtus.pro. 4-4, 40 seconds left to go. Team Empire need to be careful that they don't start falling into those time traps that we've seen them struggle with before. Now, that was a bad throw from Sider. I think the Toxic Babe canister not quite going as far as he wanted. It just caught on a little bit of the debris from that wall. The next one will hit its mark, bang onto the door. And Empire right now, they are pretty reliant on that north-sided push onto the single door, but it's not going to matter. It's Sider keeps finding kills like this, gets himself a second in the round with a headshot, always. Joystick joining in, and it's all now down to Milon, who's trying to fight his way back into sight. He doesn't quite see the man now. He pops up, doesn't hit the shots. They know exactly where he's coming from. The diffuser is down and activated, and this is all up to Milon. Can he find the first? Yes, he gets the second. It's 1 versus 1. He gets found through the rotation, just unaware that always was established inside a bar. What an attempt from Milon, bringing it down to a 1 versus 1. But Team Empire able to still get it over the line.
Really, really close at the end there as well. And that collateral, such a collateral, more a double spray down there as well. Same mag, same firing sequence. Transitions onto the man trying to rotate up towards landing. Good first round from Empire. Again, saying what we've seen about them before. Is it slow? Not really. Were they, well-paced using the whole length of the round?
Oh, it's much better.
Much better. The final 15 seconds? Sure. It still works out for them because they walk in, they find the kills, and this is what I've been banging on about now for 2 or 3 weeks with these boys. Yes, they're a little bit slow, but they always go direct for sight, and when they get there, they mean business. Long gone are the days where they're a bit lethargic, they drone things 4 or 5 times and still not know what to do. Now they find out what they need, they walk in, they get the job done. Great first round with Milon almost pulling it back to a clutch. That's exactly how he wanted this game to start. Round number 2 is going to head to the north side of the map. Really keen to see Empire's approach towards the round because in the previous one, they had started out towards the north, got control of 90, of landing, moved one down to playing inside a study. So had that kind of 2-3 angle push coming in onto site, and we saw exactly how well that worked out for them.
I mean, generally speaking, we've seen a little bit less attention towards Master quite often. There'll be some. There'll be a token force played in there. You'll maybe try and open the wall up a bit, but there hasn't been too much sort of direct aggression through that breach once opened. As you said, generally, we'll have a few sort of trying to move in from study side as well, push up through 90 corridor, and it really is on Villa just about surrounding these sites and making it as difficult as possible. When you push too one-dimensionally, you just leave yourself a problem because quite often you're going through single doors, you're being funneled, you're playing into utility, and they're just going to pick you up as defenders one at a time as you try to do so. Sider just holding a long angle for the time being. I'm not sure if that window had been actually opened up by a defender looking for a little jump out or a peek or not, or whether it was Empire as the attackers that decided to do that. But Milon is downstairs at the minute, and this is something that we haven't seen Empire have to deal with yet, Des, is those roamers. Pasha's down there with him as well. It wasn't really the case last time around. Is that going to be a bit of a slipping point for Empire here, that they don't recognise that, given it wasn't used in round 1?
I bet you a beer it's 2 rounds until Joystick starts playing Jackal.
What, so you say round 3?
I reckon round 4 he starts playing it.
Wow, you're pushing it a bit far into the game there.
He might not pick it at all. What are you saying? You on with that?
I think he'll play Jackal.
When? But when? When, Ace? Give me a number. The numbers, what do they mean?
Let's see how this round goes. It depends on this. If they get hit hard on the roam here, then yes, I think we will see that Jackal getting traded in and brought along. If Empire deal with this roam well, if they manage to cut them off, let's not forget they've got the Nomad. So Dan, if he plays it smart here, he could air jab off the stairs and just cut them out. Now WTG, he's going to cut always out. He's going to cut him right out of this round. That's going to be 5 versus 4 with a big start from Virtus.pro.
I was going to repeat what got said on the desk earlier on. Dan and always have been the big 2 players for Empire so far on this stage, always with the 3K in round 1. Starting as he means to go on, but being shut down that early on without any chance for a retrade was maybe a little bit aggressive, perhaps trying to overstep his bounds at least early on. You want to be able to play in a more team environment there and step forward at the same moment as a push comes in elsewhere, so at least you're drawing that attention away from WTG, so we can't be focusing on, say, Master Doorway. 4 versus 5 then for Empire as we get into that final 50 seconds or so. Again, not so much slow, but they are making good use of the entirety of the round here. Joystick going in, finding the head straight away onto Pasha. They don't care about these roamers too much, but they're going to care now. C4 from Kajeka from below. 4 versus 3 for Virtus.pro.
Virtus.pro with a nice little advantage coming into the last 35 seconds. We can see Empire bailing out of windows and just moving themselves away from sight. They don't really have any control here, but Scyther steps in and gets a headshot that he's no right to find onto Milon, bringing us to 3 versus 3. Shut down by WTG, who's having a great game inside of the site here. Dan just holding an angle on the window, looking to catch somebody out, but with 15 seconds left to go, Des, you can't wait to catch somebody out. In goes the flashbang. He finds the Malusi, finds the kill onto Ras. 2 versus 2. Shepard onto Kajeka. They need to start getting the diffuser down. 5 seconds. No, Dan! He says, I don't care how few seconds are left. I'm going to find that kill. And that's exactly what he does. Empire shutting out the round.
Yeah, in some contrast to the previous round, a lot of 1v1s being taken in that round. I think with Empire feeling quite confident, willing to step forward and go for these gunfights. Some great pre-fires like Scyther through that trophy door onto Statuary. Wonderful stuff or onto the statue, behind the statue. Was wonderful to see into Statuary. Got too many words to confuse together there. That was again a much more kind of, I don't want to say a solo round, but it definitely felt that way for Empire. It's just the confidence is brimming right now, and despite Virtus.pro playing it quite sensibly, 2 on their own, looking to play for the C4s from below, just can't deal with the Russian machine, or the other Russian machine in this game, as it comes charging into sight and they take away the gunfight. Second round to Empire, and that's the 2 crucial attacks that you're looking for generally here on Villa. And the best thing is, Ace, at least for Empire, it's been on 2 of the main sites on the map.
Well, that's the big thing, you know, for defenders there. You know, for anybody who maybe hasn't seen too much Villa previously and you're wondering, you know, where are the strong sites? It is the 2 that we've just seen Virtus.pro play. Usually the 3rd choice site will be one of the lower floor sites, either living room, library or dining and kitchen. But they're not even making it that far. They're not getting through primary and secondary site here. You would expect them to be locking down AVG and Trophy Statuary. Team Empire, to be fair, they really clutched that one from the jaws of defeat in the last round. You know, let's not take away from the fact that it was 2 versus 2 and about 5 seconds left to go. They had to find those final kills, and it was just about that aggression coming in from Empire and using that ability, that gun skill, to just be able to find those last men. But those are 50-50 gunfights that could have gone either way, and I'm sure they'll be looking to make round 3 just a little bit more emphatic in terms of the victory. Now, Milon, he's going to head downstairs again. We saw Kajeka pick up that vertical nitro kill last time around, but it wasn't too impactful, the Virtus.pro roam, all in all.
No, and it's almost like rather than staring towards, say, the Jackal that we've seen Joystick default back to a few times this stage, they've said, look, forget about the roam, it's not our concern. Drop the Nomad, and we'll worry far more about what we can bring instead, because the Flores coming out for Dan here. Very, very versatile operator in terms of what you can do with it. You can open up soft destruction on floorways, you can remove shields, you can use it to make defenders move. It does mean you're spending 60 to 75 seconds of the round generally sat playing on those Rotero drones, or the boom bots as I like to call them. So for Dan, we'll be keeping a close eye on where he positions himself and where they start coming from. Joystick pushing in downstairs. We saw a very similar get up in their game against, I believe it was Kavana, constantly challenged as soon as he walks inside this area of the map, but at least here for Virtus.pro, they've conceded full control and said, no problem, come and take that C4.
Going to be heavily droned into 90 corridor there. Dan just going to be sending in one of those Rotero drones, looking to clear some utility initially, I would imagine. There it goes. Now then, there is an attempt by Pasha on the Maestro to take it out, but he will be unsuccessful, and that is ADS lost. You could see that's exactly what they were going in there aiming for. So they knew that the utility was in that position, and they were ready to deal with it with the Flores. So that is going to be a removal of protection from those throwables on the sort of vault door, if you will.
I wonder where he's going with this one as well, because of course the timer only about 10 seconds or so. You've got to move it in pretty quick, and that should be the end of the Evil Eye, I believe. Unfortunate.
And this is the problem. We can see why they are difficult, because, you know, you could be forgiven for thinking they're just a drone. These guys shoot drones out all the time. Just shoot it out. But the point is, Pasha is there watching an angle. It's always going to be difficult then, because you can't just completely focus on it. If you get lucky like that and it's coming through a drone hole, he can't be challenged from anywhere else. And that's actually great play from Pasha, just to clear off that utility as well with the hard breach and the impact grenade. But it is very, very difficult to pick up those drones when watching an angle.
You're not going to talk about it? The ADS, the WTG sprayed down while trying to kill a drone. unfortunate. It was on this exact doorway that Medics has just highlighted for us. It was, yeah, pain. 90 going to be the big push point now coming in for Empire. 4 players starting to steam in towards it. I hope Virtus.pro have some awareness of what's going on, but they've rotated themselves back off. Losing Scyther clearly was enough to warn them away, and in they come. The Outer steps out for the swing. No one yet going down, but you know it's about to get bloodthirsty. Ace, 15 seconds on the clock, and 9 men alive is a recipe for absolute disaster. The smoke's coming out. Still another one in WTG's pocket as that also comes out. Joystick hitting the deck. Sorry, another one dead in 90. Dan finds one, but Pasha bringing it back into a 4 versus 1. Always left alone. And in this case, Virtus.pro will get themselves their first round there. This is where sometimes that clock can come back to bite you.
A good round from Virtus.pro. They were sort of not too worried about the Retero drones coming in. They took a little bit of utility out, started to carve a path into sight, but Pasha very, very calm, playing in and around the vault on the Maestro, first taking down hard breach utility, then getting a kill with the big Alder, and just really putting Virtus.pro on to the front foot and able to push them through the round there. So that, I think, is going to steady some nerves on the Virtus.pro side as well. Obviously coming in, they've lost the first couple of rounds. This game means a lot to both of these teams. Joystick said last week how important it was. They play each other regularly in the national competition, of course, but it's always going to mean a lot to beat your main rivals, so neither of them are going to want to lose bragging rights here today. And Virtus.pro, they're going to head over to Trophy and Statuary, and we'll see if they can find a little bit more success here. Last time they came here back in round number 2, of course, it was on the loss in Aviator games of round 1, and unfortunately it went in the same direction. Now, with a bit more success, with a little bit of wind in their sails, Des, we'll see if we can get it over the line.
I think time, again, as you mentioned a couple of times, was the big one for them in the prior round, where they spent so long solving problems that were being made by Virtus.pro, whether it was trying to push in through 90 and realising, oh, there's an outer there. Also pushing through landing, oh, there's an outer there. Let's rotate to 90. Oh, we've just lost one of our guys. We've lost Azofia. We don't want to push in blind here. Let's back away and try and go landing. Oh, now there's 2 smokes there. It was that kind of indecision, but the kind of forced indecision by Virtus.pro that really got Empire over the line, or got Virtus.pro, sorry, over the line. That's the kind of stuff that you want to see against teams that are a little bit slower, of which both of these teams are. Giving them something to think about, that stalls out there would be 3-minute plan. Making it a 3-minute 31 means they have to miss a few steps and start panicking in the dying moments of the round. That is when you can best capitalise against them. So for Virtus.pro, more disruptive play will absolutely do great for them.
Rash just opening up that study window there. I'm not sure he was actually intent on taking a peek out of it. It was maybe just giving them something to think about if there was anybody pushing from that side, but Joystick gives Pasha something to think about and leaves him scratching his head there as he finds an opening kill, taking down the Mozzie. So that is Empire starting to deal with this roam very, very well. Look, you can see they're going in here mob-handed. They've got quite a few men on that bottom floor looking to aggress through, and there comes the next Joystick onto Kajeka, and that now leaves us 5 versus 3. Rask is still downstairs as last seen. He is likely now to be forced to rotate back up to site, because otherwise it leaves only 2 members of Virtus.pro actively defending the site.
It's exactly the same thing like I said in the prior round. Joystick will walk into dining every single round and go for a challenge. Oh, it's almost like seeing someone snorkeling at sea. Can just see the gun barrel sticking up. Knows the man's there, but can't quite kill him in this case. As soon as he steps up, then he may well find himself dead. Rask, the one hole in the angle. Does Joystick know here? I can't imagine that he does, but they're going to rotate off. So, very narrowly, almost a kill could have come through, but they've now get themselves away. Rask going to now mobilise himself, sees the man, misses the gunshot, but always wins it. That's the freest sitter you could have had there. That's not going to come through for Rask, and now a 5 versus 2 for Empire and 70 seconds to play. That's more than enough to close this round, Ace.
Always got lucky there. I think it was almost as if his lack of knowledge kept him alive, because he went sprinting in and he was obviously moving far quicker than Rask anticipated, and that caused the miss of a couple of shots. Now the last shots are found by Scyther and Dan. They're going to close out the round, and once again Trophy and Statuary will completely elude Virtus.pro when it comes to the defence. Just having a little pause called here. It's going to be a tactical timeout coming in for Virtus.pro, and that's not too much of a surprise, Des, given that really it seems like a bit of a slippery slope for them at the minute.
I wish I could sit here and say there was some absolute masterclass in terms of strategy going on from Empire, but that round there was the greatest example of why they are doing so well at the moment. Joystick walks in like he does every single round. Watch any VOD of them playing on Villa. Joystick, crouch walks into dining at the start of the round. Everyone knows that. Yet still, he finds 2 kills. 2 separate 1v1s at that as well. So for Virtus.pro there, maybe slightly off position, not quite prepared for him just to, you know, shoot through a soft wall and kill you. That's going to happen sometimes. The miss from Ras, the whiff was a real painful one. Milan on Astro window, knew the man was there, still lost the gunfight, and the final one inside the bedroom wasn't even a challenge. 5 separate gunfights that Empire have just walked into, all things equal, and still won.
You know, if you look inside of that round, the one with Rask for me is the big problem there, because they had absolutely no idea that he was downstairs. How often have we seen that situation turn into a 3K and all of a sudden it's completely leveled up, even though you've lost your first couple of...
I just saw it like... then I was like, what is this?
Hang on, have I got... Oh, no, man's fine.
No, your ponytail's good.
No, I put that up earlier. But yeah, Rask, it was a big miss, because really, if he gets that... he can run away, he can disappear into the map again. And all of a sudden you're just burning time, because Empire have then got these shouts that there's still somebody active down here and we've got a problem. But as I say, I think always lack of knowledge almost saved him there potentially, because he just went sprinting in, no ADS, no nothing, and he just shot straight past the ADS of Rask, and it almost saved him, if anything. But
Rask was watching the soft wall though, I think, as well, expecting that maybe they'd be through there and he could get a spray down. So I think both kind of came into it slightly unaware of the other. But as you saw, it went the way of Empire. Let's see, though, because this is one of the really tough games for me, is that for Virtus.pro, the best they can really hope for is similar to Kavana against Empire on Consulate from last week. The rounds where Kavana won, it was a 7-3 to Empire, in case you didn't quite know the scoreline. The rounds in that game they won were really creative defenses, like playing the perimeter of meeting on Consulate, not actually playing in the room itself, left Empire a bit baffled because they couldn't take a direct gunfight, but also couldn't safely get inside of meeting. That ran the clock down and gave Kavana one of the 3-round wins that they got. Whereas for Virtus.pro here, Empire don't look challenged, they don't look stretched, because they're being met off-site rather than in the execute itself. So for Virtus.pro, again, throw up more problems for Empire, slow them down, make them panic a little bit, because when they're comfortable and they've got a lot of time on the clock, they will take gunfights every day of the week.
Virtus.pro are going to take us to their third choice site now. We're going downstairs to dining and kitchen. What you're likely to see from Team Empire is still an attempt to gain top floor control. What they want to do is get the vertical angles coming in from bathroom, coming in from master bedroom, from statuary, to try and move those defenders around inside. And if you're at home thinking, how do you remember where those vertical angles are? I can never remember, because I don't attack onto the bottom floor of Villa that often. Just remember your top floor sites. So dining and kitchen, it's basically trophy statuary that's above it. And then living room library, it's basically AVG that's above it. That's where your vertical angles come from.
They do, yeah. We see some really cheeky living library holds as well, where you can play inside the vault. And RV used it really well in their game a few weeks ago to make G2 sweat. They look completely lost against that defense a couple of times, even only really rotating into about 60 seconds being left on the clock before they tried to challenge saves holding upstairs, playing inside of vault. So lots to think about there. But let's see, though, how this one starts shaping up. I love kind of the difference that Virtus.pro have gone for. I spoke about making problems, so what have they done? Mute, Mozzie, Vigil. Remove that information game away from them, make them a little more, I guess, blind coming into those gunfights can be a way to catch them off guard. And sure enough, Joystick, rather than being the crouch-walking menace that he normally is on the Ash, is sat stationary like a gargoyle, hoping they won't spot him sat in the corner of red, just waiting for an unsuspecting Virtus.pro member to step into the wrong sight line.
As you said, just wasting more time here. We're over halfway through. We haven't really seen much of a challenge coming in from Empire yet. They've not got any control over these roamers. And look at that from Milan, taking the head offside, and knew that he was on that window and took full advantage of that knowledge. And knowledge is something that Team Empire are lacking right now. They're going to get themselves established in Master, start opening up that wall. But as you can see, there's no line of sight directly through onto Milan. They're going to have to get more aggressive. They're going to have to push him more directly if they want to move him out and if they want to get control of those vertical angles. But with 50 seconds left to go and 2 men still alive on the top floor, there's a big problem for Empire.
Oh, what? You can peek around a doorway like that and still dome Pasha. The man has clearly been getting in the new headshot mode in the arcade and practicing those ones with the SMG, as we saw Hungry doing earlier on Twitter. Either way, 3 versus 4. Virtus.pro do have the numbers advantage and time is on their side. Final 30 seconds or so, always now finally being dropped at the same time. It's going to leave the final 2 members of Shepard and Dan kind of reeling for options here, and apparently dropping into the middle of 2 or 3 members, not really on the strategy list, my guy. 1 versus 4 for Shepard. This will be Virtus.pro taking the round, and again, this adaptation of starving them of utility, keeping them guessing, being fluid around the map is the way for Virtus.pro to take the win.
Yeah, it worked brilliantly, did that. As you say, the adaptation came in from them. Right, okay, they know where we are. They've made the challenges. They've won them. So let's stop them knowing where we are. And we saw the brakes put on Joystick immediately. He was unable to get himself into the round there, and Virtus.pro took full advantage. The two top floor roamers, look at the difference in the impact of those roamers there's on round 5 versus round 4, where they had absolutely zero impact on round 4 and were just shut down and left the men in sight short-handed. This time on round 5, once they've starved them of that information, lo and behold, they have a massive impact on the round.
And look who's made a return. It's not Jackal, as I thought we might have seen back in round 4. It's the Flores coming in for Dan. On this site specifically because they want to remove all that utility around the Aviator door as we saw previously. Just got to be super mindful this time around of the grenades coming flying in from the side of Study. Imagine there'll be a small amendment for Rask on where those ADSs get places. He will want to keep himself protected, ready to challenge on the shield, assuming the team want to play it in the same spot. It is still in the back pocket of WTG, but he might move it in just a second. And on the right of your screen, a replay of Milan getting aggressive up at the window. Scyther, no idea what was coming, and this was always magical shot. Whereas really, you look at that one and you think Pasha should be winning that one every day of the week.
Always did well to turn that over. Round number 6 then, we're heading back to Aviator Games. It's a site that we saw in round 1 and round 3. 50-50 so far, 1 win for Empire, 1 win for Virtus.pro. Virtus.pro, of course, are going to be hoping that they can get this one done again, because that'll leave them 3-3 on the half, and then they've got an opportunity. You just feel if they're 4-2 down, coming into Team Empire defending, that could be a big problem. But as we've seen so far, the attacking sides haven't had too much of a problem here on Villa so far, particularly getting in, clearing roamers out and getting access to site. So if that continues for Virtus.pro, it might not all be plain sailing for Team Empire.
It's vertical style setup, looking over red, an interesting one. We spoke about the defensive living library you can do inside of the vault, but here it's not quite the same sort of thing. It's more looking directly inside of the hallway. Perhaps hoping they'll find Joystick crouch walking around, as we saw him sat in that corner of red corridor in the previous round. But just like against Scyther, it's Milan looking to get aggressive. Joystick, though, knows that he's there. In fact, he's being yellow pinged to the high heavens, and Rask wins the fight onto Joystick. That's exactly what you want. Gets himself in after that jump out, I believe it was, from the upstairs window.
That's exactly what they needed, was a better performance on the roam. I said it in round 5, they win the round. Here in round 6, it starts out well for them again. They've taken out one of the main entry players for the side of Empire. So 5 versus 4. Virtus.pro now can also just play it a bit more fast and loose on the roam. It's absolutely fine for them to keep a man or two out there now. There's no need to be falling back to site. If they want to, they can just stay and just make life difficult from underneath. As it is, they've got 4 on the top floor. Milan's still underneath, I think. So Team Empire need to be very careful that they know where it's... Oh no, he's inside a Study now.
That really unlucky, by the way, with the Rotero that's on 90 right now. Got caught up by the mute jammer inside of the site wall. So just about paused, probably pretty much at max range there as well. Otherwise, that would have been the end of that Banshee, but now it's going to stay standing. They're going to have to start forcing members in to try and do the hard and dirty work themselves. Here, it's always looking to try and clear out this mute jammer. I imagine, does he know about the man lay down? He's going to see him first. The outer goes, but into doesn't do enough to kill him out there. Grenade comes singing through, should remove away the mute jammer, but won't remove the operator. Pasha, of course, has got 1 impact left to play with to help deny any hard breach that would come onto the wall. And there comes one, taken off again. But one more Selma should come out and should easily get this one opened up. He's WTG, almost taken down.
Pasha's done a great job of playing that drone hole as the maestro so far today and just making it really difficult for the attackers. He gets a kill onto Scyther, and again we're seeing that Auda do fantastic work in the hands of Pasha. I just have a feeling it'd have been nice to have one of the Virtus.pro players moving underneath right now, Des, looking to come up those Astro stairs. They could absolutely decimate Empire in the 90 corridor. Just moving, always trying to hold his angle now in through the door. Virtus.pro, they're not looking to take any challenges that they don't need to. Out goes the Toxic Babe canister onto that north-facing door. Pasha with the second on the round, hitting Dan this time with the Auda. Then Milan gets aggressive onto the Study door. 5 versus 1. It's all going to Virtus.pro. The seconds tick by, and that is going to be it. Always will survive, but the 3 minutes are gone. The sound has run through the hourglass, and Virtus.pro level things up at 3-3.
Interesting how you see the 2 styles coming out from Virtus.pro there across 2 different rounds. The previous round, in round number 5, was the roam play. They got very fluid. They played off the fact that there was very little information available to Empire and met them around the map. This one, much more turtle-based setup, playing on site, not really looking to challenge too aggressively and just saying, look, you want to come at us? Then come at us, no problem. All that, of course, coming after the first kill in the early round onto Joystick when he was pressing in towards Mud. And I think with that numbers advantage then, thought it was okay to sit back and play a bit more passively. I'll always lament those those two Roteros being burnt into those mute jammers, or the mute jammer, sorry, singular, out towards the 90 corridor. Small little things there that maybe could have made a difference if they'd got through and removed some things down 90 for them. Either way, 3 rounds at the half for Empire on the attack. I don't think you're going to complain about all that much. Let's see how they fare on their defensive side, whether or not it is going to be that more passive defensive style, or if we see Joystick, for example, getting out the map alongside Scyther to cause some trouble.
Dan on the Frost is the immediate big difference that I see here from the defensive setup of Empire. Be interesting to see whether those Frost mats have any impact on the round. Of course, they can be used first and foremost to slow down, to burn utility, to just sort of cut off a path that might otherwise be used. But you'd be amazed how many times these players seem to end up caught in those frost mats now. And as I've said before, it comes down to the fact that they spend so much time in the ADS view. So when they're aiming down sights, they don't quite see their surroundings the same. They've got that big scope taking up maybe 30% of the screen, and it can become difficult to see those things down on the floor. So as much as it feels easy to be critical, as if he's gone into a frost mat, he should know that that's there. Sometimes when you're watching for those gunfights, and it's another one where it's that situation of just taking you out, it's the Rotero drones. You can't pay full attention to the Rotero drones. You can't pay full attention to frost mats on the ground, because if you do, you're going to keep getting swung and killed. You've got to be ready for those gunfights.
I mean, I spoke about the Jackal quite a lot in the first half, but here it'll be Pasha bringing that one out, alongside the Florist straight away for Rast. Didn't play that a couple of times this season, with Milan going onto the Iana. So a few changes compared to what you saw of the attacking lineup coming out of Empire earlier on. And you've already spoke about that Frost, that being one of the key differences. Otherwise, very common operators between the two sides. The Virtus.pro started out at least on the vertical here, one playing upstairs to the north, one was playing on the down inside a bike, looking to press their way through into Memorial. I think just expecting maybe they'd meet a bit of resistance out of Empire. At the minute, there has been absolutely none. Now Rast's going to get started up with these drones, going to see what he can do with them. I think getting a little bit caught out here, or waiting just to pop it straight in. There we go. What can he find? The shield. Bam.
Just about gets it in there in time. It's obviously a bit of a tricky one because the Rotero drones just constantly drive forward. You can jump them, but they just go and go and go until that timer runs out, and then they will, of course, explode. So he was lucky there. He got it in just in time, but it doesn't matter by an inch by a mile. It gets the shield taken out of position, and that's what they needed. In goes the second.
ADS. Oh,
straight past. Going to get the ADS and the bulletproof cam. So again, great use of that Rotero. There is the double ADS set up, and there will be another one coming in to try and take those out. If this one's successful, which it should be, it's the... he's gone straight past.
Dude, did not know. I thought it had like a normal drone coming in first, identifying where they should be going, where they're positioned to try and challenge here. I don't know if he has any more left. I think he's got one still in back pocket. Like, getting rid of those two ADSs would be...
used.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, like, you're looking at the ADSs and thinking here, they need to be destroyed because they've got 3 frags on side they want to play with here. In he comes, now he's seen them, there we go. Frostmat is still present, and there's Pasha feeding in the information. I think that's what was missing the first time round.
Absolutely that, and that's going to be a perfect use of those Flourish Rotero drones, just really setting the path. It's just clearing things out. They're ready to go now. Out comes the Toxic Babe canister. There's 2 more remaining, so Shepard could be extremely important in this defense, Des, because a lot of the remaining time can be burnt by the smoke if played cautiously. Out goes the second. Dan gets a kill to open things up onto Milon, and right now Empire, they've got their heels dug in and they're ready to defend this. Important C4 from Always shuts down that plant attempt. Kajeka does get one along the way, but it's 2 versus 4 as Joystick gets Rast. Diffuses down on the ground. It's too much. It's over as Empire find the final kills.
I mean, let's talk about the Roteros. Really good use of those early on, clearing out 3 ADSs, a shield, a bulletproof, just showing how valuable that operator is. But it's the same story with the Russian teams, it feels like, especially on big, complex maps like Villa. I say complex, it's more the size of it that makes it complex. There's a lot to do for them, and they have no time left, given how slow the team sometimes can be. Forced to push in through smoke is everyone's worst nightmare for a start. Kajeka a little bit mistimed on his rappel into study as well. Didn't really get to contribute to the push coming in through the doorway in the first place, and the whole thing falls apart from VP from there. Good first round from Empire, played it patient, didn't get too aggressive, just said, look, you guys can come at us, but we know we can choke you out with the smoke in those dying 30 seconds if you're a bit too slow. And that's exactly what Virtus.pro were.
Good start for Team Empire. They've got that top side locked in. AVG done. If they can get trophy statuary over the line now, you start really weighting this game in their favour, because they go to the third side. Win or lose, you'd argue they should be winning winning Aviator Games and Trophy Statuary again, and that will be the 4-2 half that they need. So that 3-0 half could really come back to bite Virtus.pro if Empire can lock down this site. But that is a big if, because Virtus.pro, they've been looking good so far. They've been winning the gunfights, that much as an absolute minimum. So 4-3 coming into round 8. It's going to be Team Empire's defence of Trophy Statuary.
Alrighty, no massive changes on the defensive side. Over on the attacking, you've got the IQ being brought along here, which is an interesting one. I'm wondering if, like, that change away from the Flores that we saw in the prior round here, so they just want to get a bit of information gathering between them, potentially getting below, expecting something like a Kaid or a Mute Jammer on the master wall, playing below at least with the IQ, enable you to look up there, scan out where they are, and shoot them out quite comfortably. We've seen a few teams get really stunned by them, where they've been throwing like frag grenades over the top of the master wall, but because the Kaid Electric Claws are downstairs, they couldn't ever actually kill them, and then we're like, oh man, where is it? We can't get this thing off. So even with that not being on side, I imagine here the focus is more towards the shot calling of where certain gadgets are, to clear off the master wall, and then look towards your attack and opening it up.
So immediate pressure sort of directly towards that northern side, but underneath they are looking to make the clearance first. In comes the first battle. Rask takes a whole lot of damage there, certainly less than Joystick did out of that clash. The Gemini drone taken down by Always, but it's all information that Pasha uses to find one onto Always, but traded out immediately by Dan. That is nice duo play coming in from Team Empire on the roam. Now Joystick, he just watches that drone cruise on by Des. I'm not sure that they saw the Jaeger there. That could be a big problem if Virtus.pro moving quickly here to try and challenge. Watch for the push from Joystick. He's just biding his time. Trigger discipline is key here. He's just waiting for the man to expose himself. They have no idea that he is here as they come round. It's a freebie for Joystick. He almost missed it though, Des.
A little bit wide and uncharacteristic for Joystick to start out, but closes the kill down. Cool. Now it's 2 kills in the early round here to disrupt Virtus.pro. You had the IQ, as you saw, trying to get underneath to feed that information back and forth. And by the way, I am kind of surprised there's no Kaid here. The Thatcher's banned away, the Maverick's banned away. 2 operators that are basically the go-to counters for that sort of thing. It's often why, if you'll see a Thatcher banned away, the Kaid will also go in tandem. So maybe in future rounds we see that getting brought out, and then you have the kind of cat and mouse goose chase that comes through trying to deal with those electro claws. For now at least, 4 versus 3, Virtus.pro, again, seeing that clock starting to tick down here, needs to pick up the pace. Great grenade onto Joystick, removed from Astra, but does he know about the other man upstairs? I'm not so sure that he does here. It's Shepard sitting behind it with 3 smokes in the back pocket.
Oh, they do.
That's a great nade coming out. Brilliant. So forget about trying to take the shield. Let's get below and work some magic.
Got to remember that you stood on top of a soft surface there out in Astro, and Shepard, I'm sure he's going to remember that for a long time, as it was a beautifully placed nade. Now then, Virtus.pro, they've managed to turn things around here. It wasn't looking great in the early round, but all of a sudden they've got a 3-2 advantage, but time is not their friend at the minute. 15 seconds left to go. They need to think about getting inside a site. Kajeka has the diffuser in hand. Dan does find WTG, so all of a sudden you've got to give the advantage to Empire here. Dan with a big kill onto Milon. It's all down to Kajeka. Sider knows the diffuser's going down. He gets there in time, but even if Kajeka had managed to stick it and get it activated, he loses the fight as soon as he steps out of that location. Good round from Team Empire there. They showed good resilience there as they took those early kills nicely. Joystick's particularly keeping himself off the radar as that drone just wheeled past him, and something for Virtus.pro to learn from. But Virtus.pro, they did come back fighting through the mid-round and get themselves set up, ready to execute. But Team Empire, they had it locked down in sight.
They did, and you kind of saw the mid-round swing with the 2 frag grenade kills. Really nice coming out of VP, putting those to good use, and getting 2 nade kills in any round should feel like more than enough to guarantee you victory. But that clock strikes again. They're forced to panic. Kajeka has to sprint his way through Master to try and go for the plant. The rest of the team, and then a 2 versus 2, or glorified 2 versus 2 at that point, are forced to take the gunfights, and Dan reigns supreme with the 3K. 5-3 for Empire. It is going the way that we thought it might, with Empire looking the stronger team across the stage so far. Virtus.pro reeling on these attacks to really find the right solution.
Yeah, absolutely. Empire just looking that little bit more clinical, just the checklist is there. We can see it from them. We're going to do this, we're going to do that, and then we're going to finish with this. And that is exactly how it's going, and they're winning the gunfights first and foremost. WTG, we just get a replay of that beautiful nade underneath. It can't be overstated, the difficulty of that sometimes. If you try it yourself, just getting the timing of the nade just right, because you've got to judge the distance to the ceiling so that it's exploding just as it gets there, and it's certainly not an easy one to do.
Well, let's see how things shape up here. Pasha bringing along the buck. I was going to say the buck being brought along by Pasha. Will reverse that sentence for my own head's sake. One where you've got the double destruction coming through in the form of the buck and that together. And the frags also from Milan still being there on the Yana, of course. Spells a hell of a lot of utility and a lot of vertical work to be done. The buck generally a little bit safer. You aren't getting yourself animation locked or having to stand over ground that you want to open things up from. You can do it at a bit of a safer distance. So keen to see what Pasha's focus is in the round if he tries to push from downstairs and shoot upwards maybe. As there are a few members from Empire here looking to hold on the top floor and challenge straight away inside of Study, despite the site being at the north side of the map on the ground floor. Full map coverage coming in here from Empire.
Always just putting a few bullets out in the direction of the push, but it's going to be WTG, not scared off by those. Pushes in regardless and finds a headshot onto Dan. That's going to take the Mozzie off the board and just give a little bit of sight, or rather map control, over to Virtus.pro on the south side of the top floor. Ultimately, they're going to look to push across and clear outsider and Always as well to get control over master bedroom and start opening up those vertical angles. WTG gets himself one, just looking to catch anybody on rotations downstairs by doing that basically, and now we can see the push is starting to sweep across from south to north.
That's the way that it normally goes. Finding out the man that was initially holding you down is a great way to relieve pressure and send Empire scurrying. Last thing they want to be doing is down into a 3 versus 5 when, well, the whole force of VP is starting to weigh down on you. WTG low enough that he may be able to get finished off in one bullet, assuming the right gun is used. And that vertical play starting to come through. Shepard, the one holding on the downstairs, sees the rappel, knows the man is there, but can't quite connect the shots and knows that they're going to come back, so backs away straight away. But again, enough to slow Virtus.pro down for another few seconds here. Final 60 seconds, Ace. It's where I start getting nervous.
That's it. It's all about that cat and mouse. Just a few shots here and there just to slow down that progress. 58 seconds on the clock when you're just about getting control of Trophy Statuary and opening up those vertical angles is not going to leave them much time for Kajeka to get this diffuser down. Kajeka is downstairs and in place, ready to go, so that is a point to the credit at least. Pasha doing some work now alongside of the sledge of WTG, just opening up absolutely everything, but as you can see, it's not really forcing Empire to move around all that much at the minute. They're pretty much locked into their angles, and Kajeka's not going to have an easy time of this with 25 seconds to go.
Still just trying to open the wall up as well with 20 seconds to play. Yeah, this is going to be one of those run in and go for a plant as soon as you can and pray that your team have got the cover for you. Shepard, the one holding down here inside the museum, not yet being taken down, but they know that he's in the area. It's why the grenades are singing in. Milan finding another 5 versus 3 and 10 seconds to play. This is your time, boys. Kajeka's in, trying to make the plant happen. Can anyone step out and get the kill onto him? I don't believe they can. Shepard's the one trying to get an angle through. Does he know that the man's there? Goes for the spray, finds WTG, gets the man eventually, but the clock is already got down to the diffuser point. It's on the ground, but it's a double kill for Shepard. 2v1. Can he do enough to hold it all the way out? Because the verticals, Ace, the verticals are in control of Virtus.pro, and this is all they need. A perfect angle. Going to come up and go for the challenge here. Knows that one's inside a master, but doesn't know exactly where the second may be. Trying to go for the challenge. Knows that one is playing up in Astra as well. It seems. Missed out on the gunshot. Takes a bullet himself here. Not yet being finished off and gets swung in. Virtus.pro will take the round they so sorely needed, but my God, was it close once again.
No choice for Shepard there but to just try and pre-fire his way in, but ultimately it was his demise. It gave his position away, and Virtus.pro were able to protect that diffuser that Kajeka had done so well to get on the ground. Honestly, it must have been a fraction, Des, the shots coming in through the soft wall. I think, was it Scyther on the Frost? Whoever was playing in the Frost, I think it was Scyther or Shepard inside of Museum, just looking to get the shots through the soft wall onto the planting Kajeka, and it was just so tantalisingly close, but he was able to stick it. It's not always easy just holding that F key down.
a high what I'm thinking, intensity situation, as you probably describe it.
It's something
you'd know.
I do know. And sometimes when the bullets are flying past you like that, every instinct is telling you to try and react, to fight to it.
Yeah.
And, you know, he just absolutely kept it locked in, got the diffuser down, and that was the big turning point. The couple of kills came in on site, but with the vertical control in place, it didn't matter. It was easy for Virtus.pro to lock out from there. So, but in the grand scheme of things, Des, as I said, if you remember, that's that's not necessarily the end of the world for Team Empire. If they can get their 4, it was 3-0 at the half, of course, if they can get their 4 successful defences, they win the map, and that's all they're concerned about, getting those 3 points on the board and one step closer towards that major qualification. Now they're going back to AVG. They've got trophy statuary, 2 sites they've already won up here on the top floor. If they win those 2 again, that's it. The job is done.
Let's see if it plays out that way, because Virtus.pro employing a slightly different tactic this time round. In round number 7, when they attacked this site, was when they had the Flores, removing those 3 ADSs, the bulletproof, the shield, so on and so forth. That's not on site this time. So the focus here appears to be more on the roamers with the Jackal, and also looking towards that IQ again to make some of the shot calling happen for them. They've got this main stairs setup coming through again, as you so often see. A shield stacked upon there, normally ADSs to support as well, just to stop the attackers coming in through Study so freely. We saw Virtus.pro on the defensive side had to deal with Empire attacking from Study and from landing at the same time, so maybe that kind of 2-pronged attack would benefit Virtus.pro quite well too, because in the previous round they got choked out by the smoke grenades coming out of Shepherd onto the aviator door.
Giving too much information away there, Joystick, by trying to take pot shots through the floor. Told Rask exactly where he was. That was as good as a red ping for him, and he steps in and finds that kill on the reverse angle to take the Jaeger down. Not a great start for Team Empire here. Rask just doing what was needed there. Took a little bit of damage on the IQ, but still lives to tell the tale, and will continue into round 10. 5 versus 4 for Virtus.pro, and it's essential to me, Des, that they get this one. This round is absolutely pivotal.
What I do like is it started the way the previous round did, getting the kill onto someone playing off on the roam, or well, not really on the roam, but someone trying to get aggressive early. Joystick was on site, minding his own business, and gets domed through the floor, as we all saw. So in my mind, at least, they've got that going for them, Virtus.pro. You've got that early numbers advantage. In the prior round, it went to a 5 versus 3 for them to accelerate things and get towards the eventual win that we saw them take. So a little bit of confidence for them here. Milan playing off towards the south side, at least outside Study for now. Will no doubt try and make a presence there later on. I don't know if they decide if they want to try and deal with what's going on main stairs, because they're committing drones down there, and clearly have got Milan looking to challenge ever so slightly, but no one actually trying to press the man off. Always with a kill onto WTG, 4 versus 4 race, final 60 seconds.
All comes down to this for Virtus.pro. I just feel if they end up on the match point at the back of this with Empire on 6 rounds, that it's going to be a slippery slope towards losing this one. They need to get this locked down. It was a great kill from Always with the SMG to level things up, 4 versus 4. So either getting aggressive onto the map store there. He knows that there's somebody playing in and around. He's going to shoot that laser gate just to reactivate. So that's going to take further utility to burn as Pasha tries to push forward. See Rask still underneath. There's not really a direct part of this attack here. He's using that IQ gadget to try and take utility out, and it's very, very important what he's doing, but it does leave them a gun short upstairs as Sider steps out, gets aggressive onto Pasha. That's a big move for Empire, and this shield still being in place is a problem for Virtus.pro. One that Rask tries to circumvent, but shut down somehow by Sider, who comes out of it with only a few HP left. It's a big flank coming in from Kajeka, but the time is running out, Des, and that is what they are lacking. It is not about the kills, it's about the opportunity to put the diffuser down. It's too little, too late for Virtus.pro and Aviator Games, and that's Team Empire going on to match point.
I really don't want to harp on one player here, but you've got to ask some questions of Kajeka, where there's been 3 rounds so far where his attacks have been so late on that it's forced him to kind of panic. Think back to his sprint through Master with 10 seconds left. He vaulted in through Master, sprinted through the rotate, straight to going for a plant, no time to join his team in taking a gunfight potentially. That round just there, awesome. Brilliant impact coming up main stairs. Gets 2 down. You think, man, maybe this is the round. Maybe he can take it. And it was the same in their first attack of the Aviator Games site when he repelled him through Study and was then left charging forward into kind of a 1 versus 2 with no idea where anyone was and gets easily shut down. I'd say he needs another 5 or 10 seconds when he actually goes for the execute to give himself time to assist the team, or at the very least win a gunfight. So like in that previous round, he's not then left starving for, where's that final kill for us to win the round? We really need it. But the hero of the last round for me, Scyther and that shield. Yep. Look at how it played out again in round 7. The Flores removed the shield. No one was safe. They couldn't play in that spot, but Scyther shows how impactful that shield can be and demolishes the Virtus.pro attack. Now sat at match point.
Well, it's just a really nice example from Empire as well, isn't it? Like you said, say, round 7, they don't have the shield. They show that they can adapt, they can improvise, and they can get the job done. And they use the nitros, they prevented the plant attempt, and they found another way around things. But this time they were able to use their plan A without the Flores clearing that drone out. It allowed them to just play in behind it. And as you say, Scyther just showing exactly why it is such a power position for that deployable shield. Doing a great job for his team there to just push Virtus.pro later and later and later into the round there before that final execute attempt could come in. And as we said at the time, too little, too late. Now, is that going to be the story for Virtus.pro overall here on the entire game? It's 6-4 to Team Empire, and it just feels, I don't know about you, Des, it just feels to me like a really good summing up. Oh no, Joystick just looks a lot across at the wrong time to the drone. Misses his shots onto the pantry, but Rask also just misses Joystick, and he survives by the skin of his teeth there.
Close one, but that's the way it comes down to it sometimes. You've seen a couple of near pixel misses in previous weeks and play days. Not surprising at all that it came at that close. And look at this stack here inside of Pantry for the side of Virtus.pro. They're afraid of someone coming up on their own, but with 2, 3, 4 members starting to stack on that side, you can see a pretty aggressive push being planned at least to come through. I think they sent 1 or 2 upstairs now as well to help them get the vertical control where it is needed. And for Rask, he's the one stepping in first and foremost. In he comes here trying to do something about it. I think they want this downstairs control as we've seen previously, but it's Joystick trying to contest him. Last time round, they misdroned him, and he got away with murder, as we saw. Did die, you know, a good 20 seconds or so after, so it wasn't like the end of the world for them. But getting this downstairs control with the IQ, like we keep on saying, is their go-to alternative to get rid of the utility that's going to be plaguing them up on the top floor.
And they're doing a good job of that so far. They've got themselves in a position where they obviously felt confident enough to play with the IQ down there. Now Joystick moves in. That's a great opener onto WTG. Joystick, he's just going to tuck his tail, turn and run and keep himself alive to fight later into this round. Absolutely perfect entry engagement from Joystick there. Taking a big loss on the side of Virtus.pro with the Sophia going out. Milon does take some damage though. Manages to find that very late trade onto the Jaeger. But 4 versus 4, 50 seconds left to go. We're banging the same drum, Des, and that is Virtus.pro in time.
It always comes down to the clock with the Russian sides, and for Virtus.pro, now is the time to get it right. They've had a couple of rough rounds, one that went well for them, again into the dying few seconds, but this is what you're looking for. Empire all stacked out to the southwest. 2 or 3 players from Virtus.pro looking to push in from the north. You can see them again, all gathered around bedroom and around bathroom. Those smokes starting to ring out here, at least for Shepard. Still got 2 in back pocket. He can sort this out here. If he doesn't die, he can do all the work with those smokes yet again. One comes out perfectly onto the rotate, and the questions will be asked here. What do they do? Karjeka inside of Astros looking to make his push forward, but doesn't know what's going on. Tries to move his way forwards. The shots will start raining out. Great grenade from Milon. That's the one to find. Makes it a triple, but with a team kill coming in. That's not what you wanted. Plants being stuck. Ras finds it. Milon completes the quad. And Virtus.pro will keep themselves alive again, but only by the skin of their teeth.
Somehow, Virtus.pro got that one over the line. We're going to have a quick tactical timeout from Empire here as they decide to try and slow things down before they move to find that final round. But Virtus.pro there, Des, just somehow getting it done in the last few seconds. You can't always rely on those moments because, as you say, it came down to a nade kill and then just an absolute flurry. But Empire, they're going to be asking where that went wrong because they looked pretty good for the majority of that. There was a problem with the rotation that had been opened up by the hard breacher, so it wasn't clear to pass through.
Open, yeah.
I want to give a shout out to Shepard on the smoke. His Toxic Babe canisters have been on point so far today. Absolutely fantastic, but somehow Virtus.pro get it done.
Not somehow. There is a name behind this. It is Milon. Big 3 or 4 kills in the round as well, and
he's very low health as well because he took an absolute lungful of that gas from the smoke.
I remember him back in stage 1 and even throughout last year where we kind of proclaimed him one of our rookies of the year as well. I know that he got signed onto Virtus.pro before he was even 18. They were that excited about his potential, and sure enough, is keeping his team going in this game. 13 kills at the top of the leaderboard, 13-6 overall. Quite far ahead of even the nearest contender on the side of Empire, that is Dan, albeit all of Empire quite balanced in their contributions so far. But Milon does have that capability where I remember last year saying, at least in my notes, I could look down at it and see, Milon 2K, Milon 4K, Milon 3K, Milon 4K. He has that kind of potential, and it's enough to keep his team alive. Now it's whether or not they can send it into overtime, or if Empire can close it out 7-5.
Well, we had a conversation about this game on the way in, Des. We were talking about how good a matchup it was, how lip-smacking, how mouth-wateringly tantalising this one could be if it delivered. And the last thing we wanted...
You said? You like overtime.
I was just about to move on to that point. We said the last thing we wanted was any sort of stomp. If this one could go all the way into those additional 3 overtime rounds, it could be an absolute dream. And we can see the third time's a charm for Sada there as he gets the electrical in place.
I'm so glad you just said that, Ace. The Electro Claw. That thing we spoke about earlier in the match, because there's a Thatcher and a Maverick balance side that would be really impactful, has finally been brought along. The challenge comes in here for the attackers. They need to get underneath, open the floor, and also find those Electro Claws. It's not like you've got a Maverick to burn through the wall and ignore it, or, at least in this round, you don't have the IQ. I almost feel that was a little bit of a gamble by Empire, given Virtus.pro have brought the IQ along so often, but in the one round they don't bring it. The one that could be most impactful because it is match point, the Kaid is here and the IQ is not, and unfortunately, Clutch God Milan also no longer here. Dan finding the entry kill.
That is an... I can't over-egg how important that opening kill is. So far, Virtus.pro have relied quite heavily on Milan to get the kills on the board for them, and they're going to have to do this one without him. Now, WTG manages to find Joystick, completely caught out there. Freest kill of his life as he shoots the man in the back and levels things up 4-4. But as you said, Des, this one could come out and look like a really big brain ban from Team Empire at the beginning there, with that Maverick ban, with no IQ available in this round. If those Electric Claws prove pivotal, it could be massive. There's no Flores on side. It's going to be very difficult for them to clear them out.
Well, time will tell. We'll see. 90 seconds still to play with here, so enough time to work with. And in a 4 versus 4, all things feel pretty equal at the moment. But again, that vertical play is what we're looking for here. Get below, remove the Electro Claws, unless you've got a different plan and you want to attack in through, for example, I don't know, north side, come via Astro and try and go for a plant inside of Trophy. Here they are on the downstairs and looking to get rid of anything they can. Right now, finding nothing, and this is always my worry again, is that you're mainly going in blind here, whereas with the IQ before, at least you had that right idea on side. Rask going to go for broke the second time round, and I think they're still trying to find exactly what it is they're after here, and clearly still can't find it. Maybe whiffing those a little bit.
One Electric Claw down, and that's going to be all they need. That's going to allow them to get the breach off. Now we can see the final 2x Kairos pellets will detonate, and that's just going to force the man away, but they will use the breach itself there to clear off further. So that does leave them a little bit limited now, but still 12 pellets left for Kajeka, so should be able to get this done as 4 more are cleared off, but there we go. The final more. 4 will...
But that's it. They're out now. That's it. These final 4 that Kajeka had in the mag are now going to be consumed, but they will do the trick as there is nothing left except for maybe a C4 from Scyther, which I don't think they want to commit at this time. Final 30 seconds, though, and it's still not cleared open. Yeah, again, going to find themselves a bit forced here to try and attack up in through Astro that nearly bit them out last time without Milan. The question is, can they do it all over again, Ace?
It's very unlikely. Shepard holding his ground now. He's got one Toxic Babe canister just wearing out there. He looks to make the hard challenge this time. Scyther gets one onto Rask. It's all down to these 3 operators that we see in front of us, and it's all down to that last man, Team Empire. They hold back the onslaught from Virtus.pro, take us all the way to 12, but are able to get themselves what could be a vital win here in the EUL.
Absolutely huge for them. Yet top 4. Not quite guaranteed, but incredibly close at this point for them. They played phenomenally all season long. We spoke about how they've warmed into things since the start of it. We were worried that post-SI they wouldn't be able to maintain that performance.